Good morning students. Welcome once again to online teaching session of Academy World School Pemitra. Dear students, today we are going to learn about Newton's second law, third law, and after that we will learn that law of the conservation of the linear momentum and its proof. Before going to start, I would like to remind you that in my previous session I told you the first law of the motion, that is your Newton's first law of the motion. So today we will start from the second law of the motion. So what is the statement of the second law? There are the two types of the derivation. I will explain both. But first of all, you have to understand the statement of the second law. The statement is that rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force and it takes place in the direction of the force. Let me write. You also start to write with me. Keep your book and copy and pen and pencil ready. Okay? So let me write down Newton's second law of motion. And the statement is rate of change of momentum. Rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force and it takes place in the direction of force. So what is the meaning of this statement? First you see that rate of change of momentum. I told you about the momentum in my previous session. Again I want to remind you, momentum is a physical quantity and the formula of the momentum P is equal to m into v, where m is the mass of the body, v is the velocity. This is called your linear momentum. Okay, it is a vector quantity and the unit of the momentum is kg meter per second or gram centimeter per second. So now you see that according to the second law, the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force. First of all, you have to find out rate of change of momentum. How to find it out? I am going to write it here. Please do write with me. Let us take a body. Let us take a body with mass m. Okay, with mass m. Let the initial velocity of the body will be u and the final velocity will be your v. Now you see that what should be the initial momentum? Initial momentum will be your m into u, okay, and your final momentum will be your m into v. Initial momentum m into u and final momentum is m into v. So find out the change in momentum. So you write that change in momentum is equal to mv minus mu. Right? Now we have to find out rate of change of momentum. Rate means time. I have been telling you in many times in physics. Rate means time. So write down rate of change of momentum. Rate of change of momentum will be your how much? mv minus mu upon t. Okay? So mv minus mu upon t is the rate of change of momentum. Now come to the again statement. Rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force. So how can we write it? According to this statement, mv minus mu upon t is directly proportional to force F. This is the proportion sign. Now you see, if you take common m, then you will get v minus u upon t proportional to F. Okay? So now I am writing it here. From here, come to here. So now you see, I can write m into v minus u upon t. What is that? Acceleration. So in place of the v minus u upon t, I can write a. So let me write down m into a is directly proportional to force. Now in any law you have to remember that you have to withdraw, you have to remove the proportion sign. So when you have to remove the proportion sign, a constant is to be multiplied. Okay, so now I am multiplying like this. F is equal to kma. I multiply the constant k here. So when I multiply the constant, then the proportion sign will be removed, and in place of that it will be equal sign. So f equal to k into m into a. Now we write f is equal to m into a when k equal to 1. If you take the value k equal to 1, then your f is equal to m into a. It means that force is equal to mass into acceleration. Understood? This is the one type of the derivation of the second law of the motion. Okay? So now I will explain you another method. So here you only remember that what we are getting from the second law. We are getting the measurement of the force from the second law. So what is the measurement of the force? So force is equal to mass into acceleration. It means force is the product of the mass and acceleration. Okay? So now we will do the second method of the derivation. Let me do it here. Second derivation is a little bit easier to you. It will be like this. Second method. Okay? Here you write that the acceleration in a body, again I repeat, the acceleration in a body is directly proportional to the force. I can write it here. A is directly proportional to the force F. And similarly, the acceleration of a body is inversely proportional to the mass of the body. I think that you may or may not know the meaning of the directly or the indirectly proportional. I want to tell that acceleration is directly proportional to force. It means that if the force will move, then acceleration will also move. If the force will be less, then acceleration will be less. But the meaning of the inversely proportional is that when the mass will increase, then acceleration will decrease. On the other hand, when mass will increase, acceleration will decrease, or again I repeat, when the mass will decrease, then acceleration will increase. If the one will decrease, then other will increase. Okay? Again, I want to repeat this. You see, acceleration is inversely proportional to the mass. What does it mean? If the mass will increase, acceleration will decrease. Okay? And when the mass will decrease, then acceleration will increase. If one will increase, then other will decrease. But in case of the directly proportional, if one is increasing, other will also increase. Okay? So now it is your equation 1 and equation 2. Combining these two, I will get A is proportional to F upon M. Okay? And again, I will apply the same rule. A is equal to K into F upon M. Or you can write A into M is equal to K into F. Or I can rearrange it to write it in this way. MA is equal to F when K is equal to 1. Okay? When K is equal to 1, then I will get F is equal to M into A. By rearranging, F is equal to M into A. Again I am getting the force is the product of the mass and acceleration. So this is the second method. Okay? So in this way you can prove the second law of the motion given by the Newton. After that I will tell you the units of the force. It is in MKS and the CBS. Well, I told you that what we are getting from the second law. We are getting the measurement of the force, that is equal to, it means that force is equal to mass into acceleration. Okay, force is the product of the mass and acceleration. And after that the unit. Do remember that force is a vector quantity. Force is a vector quantity, and it has the formula I told you, mass into acceleration. Then what is the SI unit of the force? In MKS system it is your Newton, and in CBS system it is your Newton and the dyne. Newton is in MK system, dyne is in CJ system. Now I want to define you what is Newton and what is dyne. 1 Newton is equal to 1 kilogram into 1 meter per second square. Similarly, 1 dyne is equal to 1 gram into 1 centimeter per second square. Okay, again I repeat, 1 Newton means when the mass will be 1 kilogram and acceleration will be 1 meter per second square. And in case of the dyne, 1 dyne is equal to 1 gram into 1 centimeter per second square. There is a conversion of the Newton into dyne. You remember that 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne. Okay, 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne. But how it actually coming out? I want to show that. I want to show you that 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne. Let me start. 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne to be proved. Okay? How to prove? You write that 1 Newton is equal to 1 kilogram into 1 meter per second square. 1 kilogram is equal to 1000 gram. Okay? 1 kilogram is equal to 1000 gram into 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. So why I am converting gram and centimeter? Because I have to convert your Newton into dyne. That's why. Okay? So now you see, you multiply 1000 into 100, it will be your 10 to the power 5 gram centimeter per second square, or your 10 to the power 5 dyne. Understand? So in this way you can convert 1 Newton into dyne. So 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne. Okay? So now I want to give you an example of the Newton's second law of the motion. You see that you all are very fond of your playing cricket. You must have seen that when a cricket player catches the ball, so what he is going to do? You must have seen that when the ball is coming and the player has to catch it or hold it, he has to just pull his hand like this way. It means that he is increasing the hand like this way. By doing so, the player is increasing the time of the holding the ball so that the force will be less. How the force will be less? Do remember that the force is inversely proportional to 1 upon T. Okay? So by extending the hand like this, the cricket player is increasing the time of the holding the ball, catching the ball. Okay? So now when the time will be more, then force will be less. Which force? The force of the hand to catch the ball, so that the hand of the player will be safe without any hurting. So this is a very simple example I gave you, and after that come to the Newton's third law of the motion and examples. Newton's third law of the motion is that for each and every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Let me write down Newton's third law. Newton's third law of motion. It is giving that statement is for each and every action, there is equal and opposite reaction. There is equal and opposite reaction. Okay, it means that suppose here is the body A and here is the body B. Suppose body A is applying the force on B, that is called action force. And similarly or simultaneously, the body B also apply the force on A, that is called your reaction force. If I write in this way, FAB means the force of the A on B. Body A is applying the force on B is equal to force BA. BA means the force of the body B applying on A. So according to the Newton's third law, for each and every action there is equal and opposite reaction. But you remember one thing, this action and the reaction takes place simultaneously. Okay? So FAB is equal to minus FBA, equal and opposite. That is why I can write it that FAB is equal to minus FBA. third law of the motion. Now I can give you few of the examples in our everyday life. Whenever we are walking, how can we walk? Our foot pushes the floor or maybe the ground towards the backward so that we are going forward. Think about a swimmer who is swimming in the water. The swimmer is pushing the water to the backward way so that the body of the swimmer is moving forward way. Understand? So in this way, there are so many examples you can get it. Rocket propulsion, you see that the exhaust gases are putting the force toward the downward so that the rocket is going upward. Recoiling of the gun. In this way, you can get so many examples of that. So again, I want to repeat Newton's third law is giving the statement for each and every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Do remember. After the Newton's third law of the motion, I would like to explain you another one which is very important for that. That is your law of the conservation of linear momentum. Okay? So I have to write the statement and after that I will explain you. Law of the conservation of the linear momentum. So what is the statement of the conservation of the linear momentum? Let me write down law of conservation of linear momentum. The statement is that when the external force applied or act on a system is 0, then the total momentum will remain same or conserved. Again, let me read the statement of the law of the conservation of the momentum. When the external force act on a system is 0, then the total momentum will remain same. It means that if F is equal to 0, external force is 0, then the momentum will be conserved or same. Now let us see how to prove this. How to prove this law? I want to explain in this way. Let us take there are the two bodies A and B. Okay? A and B are the two bodies. Let the mass of the body A is m1, mass of the body B is m2. They are under motion. Okay? They are moving. Let the initial velocity of the body A is u1 and initial velocity of the body B is u2. Consider that u1 is greater than u2. Okay? If it is the thing, then your in between the two bodies will collide each other. After some time, the body A collide with body B. Suppose take the time difference is the dt. For very small time, A collide with B. So what will happen at the time? The A body apply the force on B, and simultaneously B body also apply the force on A. It is just according to the Newton's third law of the motion. So I can write it here, F AB is equal to minus FBA. Again I want to repeat, FAB means body A apply the force on B. Then FBA means the body A is applying the force on A. They are equal and opposite according to the Newton's third law of the motion. Okay? So it is during the collision. Then after the collision, what will happen? Suppose here is the body. Let me draw it. Okay? Body A, B. Let the final velocity of the body A is v1. Final velocity of the body B is v2. Mass is m1, mass is m2. Now you see, this is your before collision, and this is your during collision, and this one is your after collision. Okay? So now how to start this derivation? Just I want to give you. Write that initial momentum initial momentum of A. Initial momentum of A will be your m1 u1, right? Because momentum is equal to mass into velocity. Okay. Then you write initial momentum of B, body B m2 u2, right? Then you write the total momentum of the system before collision. Before collision, it will be your m1 u1 plus m2 u2, right? Similarly, you write that final momentum of A. Let me write it here. Write down that final momentum of body A will be final momentum. So m1 v1, write it down, m1 v1, and similarly final momentum of body B. How much it will be? m2 v2. m2 v2. Then write the total momentum after collision. How much it will be? Simply arithmetic addition, m1 v1 plus m2 v2. Done. Now we have to find out the force. Okay, how to find out the force? You write that rate of change of momentum according to Newton's second law. Rate of change of momentum of A, body A. Okay, rate of change of momentum of the body A. How to find it out? Your mv, final momentum, minus initial momentum upon time t. So you see that final momentum of the A is m1 v1. Initial momentum of A is your m1 u1 minus m1 u1 upon t, or you take the dt, because we have taken the time as dt. Similarly, rate of change of momentum of B, body B. Okay, so how much it will be? Your body B m2 here m2 v2 minus m2 u2, right? m2 v2 minus m2 u2 upon dt. Okay, so rate of change of the momentum will give you what? Force. So I can write it that here F1 is equal to m1 v1 minus m1 u1 upon dt. And similarly, I can write F2 is equal to m2 v2 minus m2 u2 upon dt. Okay, but F1 is actually what again? F1 is equal to minus F2 according to the Newton's third law of the motion. So let me write down here. Let me write down it here. Write it here that, but F1 is equal to minus F2. Okay, so I can write it here in this way, which implies F1 m1 v1 minus m1 u1 upon dt is equal to minus m2 v2 minus m2 u2 within bracket upon dt. So dt will be cancelled. So I can get it here m1 v1 minus m1 u1 is equal to minus m2 v2 plus m2 u2. So now the rearranging I can get it m1 v1 plus m2 v2 is equal to m1 u1 plus m2 u2. So now let me keep it inside our rectangle. Okay, so now I got m1 v1 plus m2 v2 is m1 u1 plus m2 u2. So what is that? First you see what is m1 v1 plus m2 v2. m1 v1 plus m2 v2. This one you see m1 v1 plus m2 v2. What is that? Total momentum after collision. Total momentum after collision. I can write it. Total momentum after collision, okay, is equal to your m1 u1 plus m2 u2. m1 u1 plus m2 u2. What is that? That is your total momentum before collision, okay. So let me write down total momentum before collision, okay. It means that the total momentum before collision of the two bodies is remaining same after collision also. It means there is no change in collision, there is no change in momentum, okay. It means the momentum remains constant, the momentum remains same. It means the momentum is conserved. So this is the proof of the law of the conservation of the linear momentum. You have to show that here the total momentum before collision between the two bodies will remain same. Total momentum in between the two bodies after collision. Then the law will be proved. Okay. So in this way I proved it. The law of the conservation of the linear momentum. Next one is that application of the above law. Where this law is applicable? This law is applicable. I can give you the very simple two examples. One is the rocket propulsion, second one is the recoil of the gun. So let me write down here application of this law. Application, okay. First one I can write it here, rocket propulsion, and the second one I can write it recoil of the gun. Okay. First you see the rocket propulsion. If you think about the rocket propulsion, suppose you see here is a rocket, okay. In case of the rocket, when the rocket is not going up, it is at stand rest or in stationary state, the initial momentum will be zero. The initial momentum of the rocket along with the fuel system, that is will be zero. The momentum before propulsion is equal to zero, right? So when the rocket will be propelled, at that time what will happen? When the rocket will be propelled, at that time what will happen? You see that the exhaust of the gases, it means the fuel, the liquid hydrogen and the liquid oxygen, the exhaust will put force towards the downward so that the rocket will go upward. So here you see it put the action and the reaction force. So the total momentum here is also the zero. It means the momentum remains same before propulsion and after propulsion also. So in this way you can explain the rocket propulsion is an application of your conservation of the law of the conservation of the linear momentum. Similarly, the recoil of the gun, when we shoot, the gun also apply the force on our shoulder. Okay, so in that way we can also explain that. So okay, my dear children, before concluding my session, I want to recapitulate whatever I told today. I started my session with Newton's second law. Okay, I told you the statement and I have derived the second law using the two methods. First method I used the momentum, second method I used the acceleration. Then I told you how to measure the force. Force is equal to mass into acceleration. Then I told you the unit of the force being the vector quantity. MKS, the unit is Newton, in CJ is dyne. Then I told you how can I convert the Newton into dyne. I told you that 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne, and I also explained. Next I told third law of the motion, for each and every action there is equal and opposite reaction. I explained and given you the example too. And at last I have explained you the derivation of the law of the conservation of the linear momentum. Along with the examples I have also given. Okay, please go through that. Before concluding my session, I want to give you the assignment. Please do write down the assignment. Okay, this assignment will be uploaded in ERP also, and you have to do the assignment in a proper way within the 2 days. And do remember that this assignment is the part of your PT1. So don't take it lightly. You have to do that. You have to solve it. So write down the questions. Assignment. The question number 1 is you state the third law of the motion. State third law of motion with examples. And the second question is you explain the law of the conservation of linear momentum. Explain the law of conservation of linear momentum. With explain the law of the conservation of the linear momentum. Done. And the last question is write any two applications. Write any two applications of above law. Above law means write any two applications of the above law means this law of the conservation of linear momentum. I hope that you will do this assignment and upload it in ERP, and this is a part of your PT1, so do not neglect it. Thank you.